Briarwood was a town where time seemed to stand still. Days blended into one another, and beneath the surface something sinister lurked. The sun cast a golden hue over the town, setting in shades of pink and orange. Yet an eerie stillness hung in the air. Nights were quiet, blanketed by the soft glow of streetlights. Shadows stretched longer, and whispers of the past lingered in the fog. One crisp autumn evening, a thick fog settled over Briarwood, swallowing the town in an unnatural blanket of white. It was the kind of fog that seemed to crawl, tendrils snaking around corners and seeping under doors. Leo sat by his window, mesmerized by the way the fog transformed familiar landmarks into eerie silhouettes. That's when he saw it. A figure emerged from the fog across the street, its form tall and distorted. Two pinpoints of yellow light pierced the white, like the eyes of a predator caught in headlights. The next morning, the fog had lifted, but an unsettling feeling lingered in the air. The town of Briarwood, usually so vibrant and full of life, seemed to be holding its breath, as if waiting for something to happen. The mist that had blanketed the streets was gone, but it felt as though it had left behind an invisible shroud of unease. The town felt different, off-kilter, as if the fog had left behind more than just dampness. The familiar streets and buildings seemed slightly askew, as if viewed through a distorted lens. The usual morning bustle was subdued, and the air was thick with a sense of foreboding. Leo tried to shake off the memory of the figure, but the image of its glowing eyes remained seared into his mind. He couldn't forget the way it had stared at him, as if peering into his very soul. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw those eyes, burning with an otherworldly light, and he felt a chill run down his spine. Strange occurrences began to plague Briarwood. It started with small things, like objects moving on their own or strange noises in the night. But soon the incidents became more frequent and more disturbing. Lights flickered erratically, plunging homes into momentary darkness. People reported seeing shadows moving in the corners of their vision, only to disappear when they turned to look. The once cozy and safe homes of Briarwood now felt like they were hiding secrets in every shadow. Radios crackled to life with bursts of static and whispers in unknown languages. The voices were faint, almost imperceptible, but they carried a sense of urgency and dread. Some residents claimed they could hear their names being called out in the static, as if someone or something was trying to reach them. A palpable unease settled over the town, turning neighborly smiles into wary glances. People who had known each other for years now looked at each other with suspicion, wondering if their neighbors were hiding something. The sense of community that had once defined Briarwood was slowly eroding. Then people started to disappear. It began with a few isolated cases, but soon the disappearances became more frequent. Posters of missing persons began to appear on lampposts and bulletin boards, each one a stark reminder of the growing mystery. It began subtly. A familiar face missing from the breakfast table, a car left abandoned in the town square. Families were left in turmoil, searching for answers that seemed just out of reach. The sense of loss and confusion was palpable, and the town's once lively atmosphere grew increasingly somber. But as days turned into nights, the disappearances became too frequent to ignore. The town square, once a hub of activity, now stood eerily silent, its emptiness a stark contrast to the bustling life it once held. The streets, usually filled with the sounds of laughter and conversation, were now haunted by an oppressive silence. Fear, once a whisper, became a roar that echoed through Briarwood's empty streets. The sense of dread was almost tangible, hanging in the air like a dark cloud. People hurried through the streets, avoiding eye contact, their faces etched with worry and fear. Leo couldn't shake the feeling that the figure in the fog was somehow connected to the town's unsettling turn of events. He felt a growing sense of urgency to uncover the truth, to understand what was happening to his beloved town. The figure's glowing eyes haunted his thoughts, a constant reminder of the unknown threat lurking in the shadows. He shared his fears with his two best friends, Emily Carter, a budding journalist with a thirst for the truth, and Ben Miller, a tech whiz who believed logic could explain even the most bizarre phenomena. Together, they vowed to get to the bottom of the mystery, to uncover the secrets hidden within the fog and static. They knew it wouldn't be easy, but they were determined to bring light to the darkness that had enveloped Briarwood. Intrigued and unnerved, Emily and Ben agreed to help Leo get to the bottom of the mystery. The small town had always been quiet, almost too quiet, and the recent string of disappearances had everyone on edge. The fog that rolled in each night seemed thicker, the shadows darker, and the air filled with an unspoken tension. They started by investigating the most recent disappearance, that of Mrs. Henderson, the librarian known for her love of cats and ghost stories. Mrs. Henderson was a fixture in the community, her tales of the supernatural, both entertaining and unsettling the townsfolk. Her sudden disappearance had left a void not just in the library but in the hearts of those who knew her. She vanished from her home, leaving behind no trace except a single muddy footprint on the rug and an eerie silence where her beloved Tabby usually purred. The house felt abandoned, as if the very essence of life had been sucked out of it. The once cozy rooms now seemed cold and unwelcoming, the air heavy with a sense of foreboding. While searching Mrs. Henderson's basement, Leo stumbled upon something extraordinary. The basement was cluttered with old furniture, boxes of forgotten memories, and layers of dust that spoke of years of neglect. It was in this unlikely place that Leo's keen eye caught a glimpse of something unusual. Behind a dusty shelf filled with forgotten tools, a section of the wall pulsated with an unnatural light. The light was faint at first, almost imperceptible, but as Leo moved the shelf aside, it grew stronger, casting eerie shadows on the walls. It was as if the light had a life of its own, breathing and pulsing in a rhythm that was both mesmerizing and unsettling. As he moved closer, the light intensified, revealing a doorway that shimmered and hummed with an otherworldly energy. The doorway seemed to be made of light itself, its edges blurring and shifting as if it were not entirely part of this world. The hum grew louder, a low, resonant sound that seemed to vibrate through Leo's very bones. The doorway pulsed with an eerie green glow, like the heart of a firefly, magnified 1,000 times. The green light was almost hypnotic, drawing the eye and holding it captive. It was a color that seemed to defy description, at once beautiful and terrifying, a beacon of the unknown. It beckoned them closer, promising answers but whispering of unknown dangers. The air around the doorway seemed to crackle with energy, a tangible sense of anticipation that made the hairs on the back of their necks stand on end. It was a call to adventure, a siren song that was impossible to ignore. Fear warred with curiosity in Leo's chest. He could feel his heart pounding, a mix of excitement and dread. The rational part of his mind screamed at him to turn back, to leave this place and never return. But the pull of the unknown was too strong. He knew they shouldn't, but something about the doorway, about the mystery it held, drew him in. It was as if the doorway was calling to him, whispering secrets that only he could hear. The light seemed to reach out, wrapping around him like a warm embrace, urging him to take the next step. Emily, her eyes gleaming with journalistic zeal, and Ben, his skepticism momentarily forgotten, agreed they had to see what lay beyond the pulsating portal. Emily's mind raced with the possibilities, the stories she could write, the truths she could uncover. Ben, usually the voice of reason, found himself caught up in the moment, his curiosity getting the better of him. Taking a deep breath, Leo reached out and pushed open the door, stepping into the unknown. The light enveloped him, and for a moment he felt weightless, as if he were floating in a sea of green. The world around him seemed to dissolve, replaced by a new reality that was both wondrous and terrifying. What lay beyond the doorway was a mystery, but Leo knew that whatever it was, it would change their lives forever. Want to know what's behind the doorway? Well, look out for part 2. Please make subscribe, like, and comment. Until next time, bye.